Hello everyone. Hope your October is doing is going well. And we are halfway. Let me check. Yes, we're almost done with October and I need to get on my reading goals. And speaking of reading, have you read my book? What if I ruled the world? Poems inspired by music. You could read a book this month if you get it soon enough. And it's not that long. It's like 50 some pages, I think, if I can remember correctly. But yeah, it's always linked in the description and linked in my link tree if you need something to read this month. Which I guess I could read my own book, but I feel like that's kind of cheating. But yeah, I'm trying to read at least one book a month, and I'm almost done one audiobook I'm reading, I guess listening to technically. And then there are like I have some kids' books that could be fast to read, but I'm just not doing it. But anyway, enough rambling. We're here to talk about Wednesday, and I'm wearing my black, even though I do have a lot of pink. So that's for her roommate Enid. She's the colorful one. And so Wednesday, we're going to talk about season one today, and then next week we're going to talk about season two. So it's a supernatural mystery comedy. It was released November 23rd, 2022. It was created by Alfred Go. I hope that's how you say his last name. And Miles Miller. That's a nice name. A little alliteration. And then it's directed by Tim Burton, and you can definitely tell it's very Tim Burton esque. The way that everything looks, and of course, it's inspired by the characters from the Addams Family, created by do not remember his name, but yeah, I know it was created by. I know the last name was Adams, but I don't remember his first name. But anyway, let's get into the cast. Well, let me get the synopsis. So the first season revolves around Wednesday Addams, who attempts to solve a murder mystery at her new school. So then I'm going to change that for season two. But let's get into the cast now. So that's a synopsis. Oh, it's only on Netflix, so you gotta have the flicks. Gina Ortega is Wednesday Addams, a teenager who possesses psychic abilities. She also plays Goody Adams, who is a deceased ancestor of Wednesday's from the 1600s, who appears in her visions. Uh, Gwendolyn Christie as Larissa Weems, season one, the shapeshifting principal of Nevermore, and a former student who is Morticia's roommate, which Morticia is Wednesday's mom. If you do not know, if you don't know anything about the Addams family at all, um, there's something that's kind of a spoiler for season two, so I'm not going to share that part. That's another thing. When I was looking up the character descriptions, they kind of spoiled stuff because I was like looking at my notes and I was like, oh, well now I know, what's going on with this now, and I didn't mean to know what was going on with this. So just be careful when you're looking up the characters and stuff. Uh, Riki Lindholm as Dr. Valerie Kinbot, Wednesday's Nevermore appointed therapist from the town of Jericho. Jamie McShane as Donovan Galpin. He's the sheriff of Jericho, which is like a town near the Nevermore School for the normal people. Hunter Dohan as Tyler Galpin, a local coffee shop barista, and Chef Galpin's son. And then they spoil something for you in the description, so I'm not going to do that. Percy Hines Webb is Xavier Thorpe, season one, a psychic student at Nevermore who experiences visions during his dreams and can make art come to life, which was really cool to see in the first season. And Emma Myers as Enid Sinclair. That's Wednesday's werewolf roommate at Nevermore, so they're roommates. Joy Sunday as Bianca Barclay. Siren Queen Bee at Nevermore and Xavier's ex-girlfriend. Okay, Georgie Farmer as Ajax Peto Petopoulos. Anyway, he's a Gorgon student, and Evermore, who's a romantic interest in Enid. So a Gorgon is like Medusa, basically. They can make you turn to stone. They have snakes in their head. Uh, some of these I'm like, do I need to tell them? Well, they're here. Normani J. Ogawa as Yoko Tanaka, a vampire student at Nevermore. I'm trying to remember, was she very important? I feel like she might have been a little bit. Christina Ricci as Marilyn Thorpe slash something that's kind of a spoiler, so I'm gonna leave that out. In season one, who also played as a child in the original Addams Family. She was Wednesday as a child. She's the botany teacher at Evermore and dorm mother of Wednesday and Enid. Oh, okay, yeah. So it tells you she previously played Wednesday Addams in the Addams Family and the Addams Family Values. So I'm assuming one of them is the TV show and maybe one is the movie, or maybe both are TV shows. Uh, oh yeah, and then Musa Mustafa as Eugene Odinger, a student at Evermore who has the ability to control bees and later other types of arthropods. So yeah, he's one of Wednesday's friends. So yeah, that's this the basic cast. Um, and then my favorite and my least favorite episodes. I'm gonna talk about that now. My favorite episode was you reap what you owe, which was the parents' weekend. And I just have to say, I love Wednesday's parents, Morticia and Gomez. I think they're just so funny, and they bring like something different when they're on screen because they're so hilarious and like bizarre. I feel like that's a nice change because this series is very serious, and the comedy is not coming from Wednesday, which I don't think is 100% bad. But I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I love that episode. It was just so fun and seeing them come back to Nevermore and seeing like their past at Nevermore, even though I'm not gonna spoil anything, but something crazy does happen in their past when they were at Nevermore, you know. And then my least favorite episode was actually the first one. Wednesday's Child is full of woe, and I think it's because I talked about this in my short video. I did not expect this series to be so serious. Series is serious. Little alliteration. Um, I really thought it was gonna be my series coming out. I really thought it was just gonna be goofy, pretty much. You know what I mean? So that's so at the first episode, I was like, "Am I gonna keep watching?" But then the mystery stuff started happening, and I was like, "Ooh, yes, I am." So, Wednesday Adams, she's a very, stoic, staunch person, but she does have a heart at times, and you see it throughout the series. So, but that was like kind of jarring for me because I'm so used to seeing like the Adams Family being like cartoons or like super goofy. So I was like, oh, this tone is very, very serious. All right, so we're gonna get to my pros and my cons and my overall opinion. So I'm gonna kind of be winging my notes in the pros and cons because I didn't write anything, but I did write my overall opinion. So the story is a number one for me because you just it keeps unfolding. Like you see something happening, and you're like, "Oh, what's happening next? And what's happening with this?" And it just keeps you engaged. I feel like that's of the strongest aspect of this series is that the story keeps being engaging, and this keeps something crazy happens, then something else crazy, and it just keeps you so engaged. So I feel like that's really great. And then my next pro is the characters. Even though Wednesday, it might be because she's a teenager, she's a little annoying to me. And I think that's just because she's a teenager, but she's also like, and I know her character is supposed to be like she doesn't like anything, but it's also kind of annoying. Even though I do like her character because I feel like she does have times where she like breaks down that whole I don't like anything attitude. And I know it's an Adams Family that's supposed to be opposite of like regular people. But I'm so used to like it being played off as a goofy versus as serious as it has been played. And so I still like her character, but she's her walls are kind of breaking down for certain things. So I feel like that's cool to see. That she actually does care about people and she actually does have some feelings, you know what I mean? And there were emotional moments in the first season, like, do I want to spoil anything? Well, something an emotional scene happens with Thing, which if you don't know who Thing is, he's like a hand, a disembodied hand that is like their family member. And so something happens to him and she gets sad, which I understand. And then of course, the big thing at the end, she saves everybody and it's like very emotional. And then, she usually doesn't let her emotions show, but she did at the end of season one. So that was cool to see. Oh, and I also love Enid. She's just so funny. She's so different than Wednesday. She's colorful, she's bright, she's social. She kind of, is this a spoiler? Yes, it is. But and she got some love interest. She got a little love triangle, kind of. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's kind of, she does have a love triangle in season two. And then in season one, she has a love interest, and she's doing all kinds of things. She's in all kinds of sports. She has great school spirit, so I love her as a character. Bianca, at first, I was like, why does the black woman or the black character, black teenager, have to be evil? But then she did change over the season because I was like, okay, Tim Burton. I know his track record with like not really casting people of color, but now I feel like he's doing better. But I'm still side eyeing. I was like, why is she so evil? But um, you do see her kind of changing throughout the season. Unfortunately, sometimes she's like she wants to be good, but then there are circumstances that she doesn't really control, and like somebody else is kind of trying to get her to be evil without spoiling too much about her. And I liked Xavier. He was cool. Um, so we learned something about Tyler, but I also thought he was a cool character. Um, and then I felt kind of bad for him because he likes Wednesday. We find out later that you know it's not really what it is. I hope that's not too spoilery, but I think he was a cool character. He seemed like um like he was like accepting of Wednesday and stuff, and at first, but he was an interesting character. The sheriff was interesting, but of course, he's a normie. He doesn't really fond of the outcast, but it is what it is. Who are the other characters? I talked about it in Bianca. Ajax, I think he's a fun character. He doesn't want to hurt anybody with his power, so of course, uh, he's but I feel like he's a cool character. He's fun. He's funny. Um, and he doesn't want to hurt anybody with his power, but sometimes things happen, unfortunately. But he was a cool character. Oh, and Pugsley is not on here for some reason, which is Wednesday's brother, and he's really interesting. You see more of him in season two, so I won't talk too much about him. But in season one, he's pretty interesting, and he's not on here. But Doctor Uncle Fester is so funny. He's so out of control. He's so out, like he just does the craziest things, and it's so funny. So I love his comedic relief, and also Morticia and Gomez, their comedic relief, and I love their relationship and how they're like the opposite of a regular couple, a married couple, because married couples are supposed to like hate each other, but they just really love each other, and I just love that. It's just so sweet and fun, and the setting and the aesthetic, of course, with Tim Burton, it's gonna be dark, gothic. It looks great. Um, oh, this is season two, so I can't talk about it. But there's some parts where you could definitely tell, oh my god, this is definitely a Tim Burton show. More so in the second season, I guess, because it's like an animation in the second season. I can't talk about it now. But the first season, you could definitely tell the gothic, the way that everything looks. It just looks great. And then, Wednesday, she looks great uh, as a character. And, when she has like, they have like a dance. I don't know if you would call it a prom or just like a regular dance. And, the dresses she wears is perfect for her. I'm going to insert a picture. I'm going to insert a couple pictures of them and their uniforms and stuff. And you can see the contrast between Enid and Wednesday, and how they're like complete opposites. So that was cool. Oh, and the setting, it definitely looks like a Tim Burton uh esque setting. So that's really cool. And the pacing, that's my final pro. Pacing is done really well. You know, I will say in the beginning episode, the first episode, I was kind of like, what are we doing? But I understand we have to get to know everybody. So I was kind of like, okay. And of course, in the first episode, Wednesday didn't really want to be at Nevermore. So that's like a kind of a thing. So, of course, she's not into anything. She doesn't want to have any school spirit. And then her mom also went to the school. So that's like a whole shadow of her being in her mom's shadow. And so there's that thing too. And, but after, the most of the episode where you getting to know everybody, when the mystery starts, it's kind of quick pacing, but you get into it and then you just keep getting into it. I feel like, they don't drag it on. They don't wait till the second episode. You get right into it. And I love that. I love the pacing of that, of the whole series, of the first season. The second season, also, the pacing is very good. And then I have one con, which is the tone, which I've already talked about pretty much, how serious it is. And I'm so used to it being goofy, but you know what? I feel like it works because Wednesday is staunch and stoic, like I said, but then, around her, there's a lot of comedic elements. So I feel like it balances out, you know. So yeah, so let's get into my overall opinion. I think the story really drives the series and seeing where it goes. I think the characters are all very unique and stand out, but still work well together. So I feel like even though all the characters are like different and they stand out, they still work well, like as a unit. Like they build off of each other's strengths. So I really enjoy that. Wednesday is very serious in this adaptation, so I love when other characters balance that out, which I've already talked about. And I talked about especially the appearances from her family. They bring the comedic elements. Burton definitely has a signature on the setting and aesthetics, and is very visually stunning. I will say, I guess technically because it's a horror show, it is very dark at times. So I gotta turn the brightness up on my phone. But if I watch it on my TV, I feel like it's okay. The darkness isn't bad. But yeah, it's a horror show. Horror stuff is happening, so it's gonna be dark. Just a warning. But the pacing is done very well for the mystery element, and you connect the dots at the same time as Wednesday, which I feel like is cool. Um, the tone is my only con, since Wednesday is marketed partially as a comedy. Uh, but the main character doesn't give that. Um, and I will say, I mean, there are some things that she does that is kind of funny. Not kind of funny. She does have funny moments, but it's like, of course, not your typical funny moments, but she still works. Uh, but what was I? Where was I? I'm looking at my round paragraph. Uh, but she does have her funny moments. Oh, I did say that. Mainly all the funny moments are from her family. So there's that. Overall, I love the mystery in the first season and Wednesday's relentlessness to solve it, even though she kept getting in trouble. She kept getting herself into like crazy situations and kept getting in trouble, but she was not letting up. And you know what? I like that about her character. She is determined once she gets something in her mind. So I feel like that's cool for her character. And I would give the first season an 8 out of 10. So I wrote a rant, very short one, about what I want in the second season, even though technically I've already started the second season, but I've only finished this third episode, so I can still say what I want anyway. LOL. And there are some subplots. Um, there's a subplot with Bianca. I don't really want to spoil too much, but it's really interesting, and I really want to see how that plays out. So it's with her and her mom, and you find out something about Bianca and why she's at the school and not really fond of her mom, or she didn't really think her mom was gonna come parents weekend, and you find out like kind of a big bombshell about her. And then in the second season, they do kind of, so far they've talked more about it, but yeah. So I definitely would love to see Wednesday and her mother's relationship expand more, which I feel like kind of has happened. Uh, like if they were closer before or not, or what they would do to get closer in the future. If Wednesday would even try because he's a teenager, so that might not happen at her age. LOL. And especially like going to this school, she wants to like have her own like legacy, but she feels like she's in the shadow of her mom. So then that's a thing. I also love seeing Morticia and Gomez together as a couple. They're so funny together. So I would like to see like more of them, which it is giving more of them. So I love that. Um, and I feel like it makes sense that her brother comes in Evermore in season two, which is I guess that's kind of a spoiler. Spoiler. But I also feel like maybe it should have been like a later season. But what do I know? I'm not a show writer. LOL. So maybe they were like, gotta get those ratings up, get the whole family in there. Hey, I'm not writing the show, so maybe that's a good move for them. I will say it will be interesting to see if he begins to fit in or be outcast among outcasts, which it kind of feels like it is. He kind of is at this point, but I feel like he'll find his way because I feel like everybody kind of like I feel like Enid kind of felt outcast in the first season because she wasn't like the other werewolves, but then something happens and then she's like, she feels more um accepted, you know what I mean? So I feel like there will be a moment for him. Finally, I would love for Wednesday to actually like someone openly, like friendly. I feel like she does actually like Ned, but of course she's not gonna be overly emotional about it because that's just her. But I would really love her to have a romantic interest, like the way her parents love each other, even though like she kind of cringes at how they act because she's a child and a teenager, and you cringe at the things your parents do, like you're like, ew, you guys are gross. So that's just a thing that you go through as a teenager. But I would love for her to actually have like a love interest, but I also understand if it doesn't happen because that's not really. I'm trying to think of like the right way to say this. Like I understand that's not really her character's motives. Like she's self-centered, uh, which I feel like a lot of teenagers are. So I mean that's just a thing. But it also feels like that's not really her motivation as a character. Like she wants to solve issues and work on her psychic abilities. So it's not really like a priority for her. And I totally understand that if she does not go into like a romantic relationship, I totally get it because it's like I kind of don't really. I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. Like her mom and her dad met at the school, and they have like their romantic feelings for each other. I feel like that's not really her priority for Wednesday, but I would still like to see her have a little fling or a little couple of dates with some weird kid like her, and maybe they're both like not really emotionally like outward, but then they're with each other and they get each other. That'd be kind of cute, you know. And like they don't put demands on each other like regular couples or like her parents. So she just loves somebody in her own way. I feel like that'd be cool to see. And they say on Netflix season three is coming. Um, I have no idea how long they took between each season because obviously I just started watching it and it's been on for 3 years. Yep, 3 years. So I guess we'll see how long we have to wait for the next season. Let me look that up real quick before we finish the video. It's probably a 3 year difference at least because although some shows I know uh they've had longer between the seasons. Let me see. Oh, it doesn't say. Oh, okay, yeah, it's been three years between each season, and then they separated the season by 4 episodes. Um, for this season, instead of giving you all 8, well, now they have all 8 because I'm watching it after it already came out. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this season 2 goes, and then how season 3 goes. So I think I'm gonna stick to it in the long haul. It's gonna be a first series in a long time that I've really stuck to. So I I highly recommend it, and I can't wait to talk about season 6. Season 6. Season 2. I'm already jumping ahead 10 years. Season 2 next week. So yeah, do you like Wednesday? Have you watched it? Did you try to watch it and you were like, eh? Were you like me in the beginning where you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna keep going, and then you didn't keep going? Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you like Tim Burton. What's your favorite Tim Burton movie? Mine is Edward Scissorhands. I love that movie so much. Um, I haven't watched all of his movies, but that's my favorite one. I've watched a couple. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you all next week.